And rolling. I want to welcome everyone. I want to welcome each and every one of you to episode, can you believe it, champions? Episode 17, Uncommon Men, another great uncommon episode. Hey guys, as we promised you, every week we believe if we bring uncommon men to the platform and they drop uncommon tips, we're going to lead a trail or a roadmap, if you will, of what high level success looks like and what does it mean to be an uncommon man. A very important conversation, if you ask me, a very important consideration. And that's what this podcast is about. So welcome again to Uncommon Mondays. Uncommon Men presents something very special tonight. We got an amazing guest. You guys are going to love it. So, hey, man, take some notes, jot down some things. You're going to pick up some great nuggets again. We're really proud to be on episode 17. If you're watching this from our YouTube channel, please subscribe to the channel. One Team, One Dream. Be part of the family. Hey, like the broadcast, share the broadcast, get the information out. What we are is a great conglomerate of uncommon men from all over the country, now all over the world. This thing is spreading. And if you're watching this on any one of our social media outlets, like our Facebook group, please, again, leave comments, okay? And share the broadcast, on your own timeline. Let people know that this uncommon movement is real. It is powerful. It is exciting. And here we go with another great episode, another great guest. And before we get started, I want to bring a co-pilot to the forefront, Mr. Dan Putnam. Dan, my guy, my friend, how are you doing this evening?
Man, I'm doing fantastic, Clavon. What a day. I guess I'll just leave it at that. What a day.
Okay. Well, I know we'll hear about some of it tonight, man. This is your safe place to decompress and share. And guys, we're gonna have a great podcast tonight, man. I think we're gonna just jump right into it, man. I want to bring up Mr. Rick Anson, our guest tonight, entrepreneur, alchemist. That's a real powerful word. One of my favorite books in the entire world, and a biohacker. I'm interested in hearing what that's all about. Hey, Rick, got some questions for you, but first and foremost, good evening. Thank you for being here. You're definitely an uncommon gentleman, and welcome.
Thank you, Clevin. Thank you, Dan. Honored to be on your show. I love the mission and the vision that you do and helping men around the world and people in general, right, around the world with your thought leadership and your mission in Uncommon. I'm so happy to be here.
Well, I'll tell you what, Rick, here's what we're going to do. I have a series of questions for you tonight. Me and Dan is going to assist me. But before we go there, before we get started and really get into this, I wanted to kind of bring it to the forefront. Didn't want to leave you in the backstage because we always start off with a very clear message. I want you to be a part of a message of the day, a vision for the day, based on our, the CEO of Be Epic, the visionary leader of this uncommon movement, a gentleman I have a tremendous amount of respect for, as I know you do as well. But I want to just first pass the platform over to Dan and let Mr. Putnam drop really the word of the day or the concept for the uncommon movement this week.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Clavon, and Rick. So excited to hear your thoughts here this evening, and just like Clavon said, just drop some great information to people all over the world. And the great thing about doing this is what we're putting out is going online and it's staying online. So, there could be people that hear this 10 years from now, 15 years from now, or whatever. But some interesting things today, March 11th. Clavon, I'm a big 11/11 guy.
Absolutely.
And looking at it a little bit deeper, it's March 11th. I did see 11/11 today. But it's also the 11th week of the year on March 11th. And something weird today, and I don't know why, but I saw as a group, and we were at lunch, and it was 111, and then obviously a little over an hour later, Adam brought up, hey, it's 222, and then it was 333. I left the room. James texted everybody 444, and then we was literally just sitting there. And I looked down. I'm like, guys, you won't believe it. I turn over my phone. It's 555. So I don't know what all that means, but a conversation that happened today really got me thinking, and I'd like to get Rick's input on this. I posted a long time ago. Rick, I'm sure you do it in soccer also, and basketball. It's common, but we also did it in football, and we called it suicides. Do you know what I'm talking about? We did it in hockey even.
I do remember, yes.
So suicide in basketball, you start at the baseline, and then you go to the free throw line, and then you go back, and then half court and back, and then to the next free throw line and back, and then to the next line and back. There was a video, and I do believe that it was soccer players. So they were doing it on a soccer field or football, depending on what part of the country you're in. And what it showed, it had a video on the goal line, and it showed an entire team of professional athletes. So all professional athletes. This wasn't, grade school kids. And there was only 1 foot that passed that line. Every other one was short. And it got me thinking of how often in life, if you're doing suicides, if you stop 1 inch short or you go a foot past, is it really a big deal? It's not going to be any easier. Trust me, that 1 inch that you shaved off, or even 1 foot, isn't going to make the exercise any more difficult. I do in the mornings, Clavon. I think I've had this discussion with you, and I continually find myself dipping back. But I do high intensity interval training, and I do Tabata. So Tabata is like all out for 20 seconds, rest for 10 seconds, all out for 20 seconds, rest for 10 seconds. And I use a Tabata timer. So it calls out when you're halfway done. So it's like, halfway, and then it counts down the last 5 seconds. And it's crazy how often I start to stop at the last 5 seconds. And I literally catch myself, and I'm like, is that who you are?
Right.
You're the person that slows down when there's still 5 seconds. You're not giving it all. You're not giving it your all until it goes on, and then you should get to 0 and then do 1 more.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I catch myself getting to the last 5 seconds, and so I kind of went down this rabbit hole today, and I'm like, you know what? Almost everything in life. Like I've been, as we've discussed on this, I've been doing a lot of the fasting and then the 1 meal a day. And so I would be like, man, and Rick's created some awesome products for us, like these, weight loss caramels, basically candy that helps you lose weight. And so I started thinking, you know what? What if I only did like 2 caramels and some supplements on the days that I fast? It would make it so much easier. And the thought came to me today, why are you trying to make it easy? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The thought should be like, why not make it harder? And so I started like going down this rabbit hole. It's like, man, people are always looking for the easy way out. People are always wanting something easier. And James was talking about this old shirt that he had. And we were talking a little bit about ego. And the shirt that was put out by Vans said, ego is not your amigo. And then I started thinking, what is ego? What if ego is the programming, like our factory set programming as a human being, and from the factory default, we're set up to fail? Because that ego is always that thought in your mind that's like, hey, you don't have to push that hard. Take it easy. Just instead of fasting, it would make it much easier if you do these supplements, and then it won't be that hard. Or it's just all of these, like, I think there's a saying that it's like the the pathway to hell is paved in good intentions. I don't know if you've heard that, but all day I've just been thinking, if this is about uncommon, why do we try and make everything easy? Why do we look for an easier way? Why not embrace that it's hard? Why not get that mindset that if I make the decision that I'm going to work out, and I make the decision that I'm going to do high intensity interval training, why in the world am I thinking with 5 seconds, 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second to let off the gas? At the end of the day, is it going to be that much harder if I push those extra couple seconds? Does that make sense, Clavon? It's like, but in your mind, you're teaching yourself that that's who you are. I'm the person that in a Tabata training slows down when it's almost over.
So where does the willpower fall on the ego tree? Because, I'm just asking from a perspective. I'm listening to you, and also like words just kept popping in my mind, willpower.
Yeah, you know what? Is it willpower, or is it just you? Is this just who you are? And who decides who you are if you don't? You know how we've had those discussions? Nobody makes any decisions for you. But if you truly want to be different, again, this was all professional athletes, an entire team. Only one crossed the line.
Wow.
Everybody knows how suicides work. You pass you put your foot on the other side of the goal line, the other side of this, the other side of this. It doesn't work that you get as close to that as you can without passing it.
Right.
But so the only thing that I wanted to bring up and for the conversation of Uncommon Men is to get people thinking about this. Who are you? And who do you want to be, I guess, is a better question. But when I started thinking about that today, I'm like, if I'm looking for the easy way out, if I'm slowing down when it hits 5, who am I to put something together for Uncommon Men? So it's kind of like that self-check. You know what I mean? Right. And so it just happened to be a day that all this kind of came to me today. I don't think about it most of the time, but it was just weird because, again, on March 11th, okay, it's 11, but every month has an 11. I see 11/11 quite often, but then this is the 11th week of the year. Obviously, it doesn't always fall on March 11th, but so I just wanted to kind of throw that out a little bit as we get going. And what are your thoughts on that, Rick? Because I know that, and well, let's actually, before things that I know, everybody doesn't know. So, Rick, why don't you just introduce yourself? Where did you grow up? Tell us a little bit about your parents, brothers, sisters. If you had brothers and sisters, what did your parents do? What kind of, if anything, growing up moved you to the person that you are right now? As Clavon mentioned, biohacker, alchemist, all of these, different things. Obviously, I know you for the last probably 5 or 6 years. I don't remember exactly when, maybe a little bit less, several years. I know it was I think we met in either late 2019 or early 2020. So it's been about 4 years, but we've had a ton of discussions. You've come down here. We've been in other countries together and things like that. So obviously I know you a lot better than the guests. So I don't want to assume that everybody knows, your background, your story. So tell us a little bit about who you are, where you grew up, what family life was like, and maybe up until the decision to, go into business yourself, and then we'll kind of pick it up from there.
Yeah, well, thank you. Everyone has their story, right? And you own your story. So be proud of where you've came from, even if it wasn't, what you see on social media today. Everything is great, right? Own your story. That, you are who you are, be proud of it, and help people, grow along the way, because everyone's story, I'll tell mine, everyone has a purpose. Everyone has a story. Their story should be heard, and you learn from everybody. So, Rick Anson, I live in Boise, Idaho. I grew up in Idaho. It's interesting. I have one brother named Bill, and my parents got divorced when I was about 11 years old. And so it was interesting with a mother raising two boys, and we were we're a little hell on wheels for sure. I can't tell all the stories here. Some of the things are not on the air, that's for sure. But my father, and this is where I draw a lot of my strength, Dan, Clavon, and everyone listening. I think it's important, like, in days that are tough, where do you draw your strength? What is your internal motivation? What is your core strength that you draw from? And I'll tell you one of my primary core strengths. My father grew up in a farm in Minnesota with 3 other brothers and a sister. And back then in the day, probably in the mid 60s, when you grew up in a farm in Minnesota and you could read and write, which is about the 7th grade, you quit school.
Yeah.
You went to go work on the farm, right? I mean, you had three strong boys working on the farm, or 4 boys working on the farm. Well, in 1967, 68, my father got drafted to go into Vietnam. He had a 7th grade education. He was 19 years old, and Ground Corps Marine. And was there for about 2.5 years, and then got injured and came back to the States and met my mom, who was a nurse at that hospital where he was recovering, and got married. And then had me, and then had my brother. And then, you come back from a situation like that, a conflict, with a very, very minimal education at that political time of the world. And there wasn't a whole lot of opportunities for someone who came back from a conflict with a 7th grade education. So he drove a semi-truck for 35 years, raising us until they got, the parents got separated. But I'm very proud of that. And when I go back and my accomplishments and my failures in my life, the days that I feel like it's hard, or I feel sorry for myself, or why didn't this happen, or why did I get a speeding ticket today, or whatever it was, my life is easy, man. My life, I can't even imagine being 9. And my son now, and Dan knows, is 18 years old. I can't even imagine going into a conflict like that when you're 18, 19 years old with the 7th grade education, and surviving and then coming out and then raising a family. So, that's the perspective I had growing up. And I was very fortunate to be a good athlete, a soccer player specifically. And I played Division I college soccer at San Diego State. And I went over to Europe, and I played 2 years semi-pro in Holland, trying to make a pro contract. And throughout those experiences and those challenges, I was always looking for an edge. What is my 1% advantage that I can get out here to get a pro contract, right? I mean, American over in Europe trying to play their sport, it's still their sport. Right? How can I do that? Because I was athletic, but I didn't have the technical skill training they had when they started at 2 years old, and that national background, like we have United States for football. So it was always, how do I find what I say today is my peak performance? How do I optimize myself mentally and physically to perform better? And at that point, right, I was trying to get a contract, trying to perform better in the sports world. And so I took a job with Roche, a very global pharmaceutical company. and I took a job with BASF, which is a $54 billion nutraceutical pharmaceutical ingredient company. And I was learning how those ingredients work in your body and trying to gain that edge. And that journey's carried me forward to working with Pfizer for a number of years, working with very large global nutraceutical companies, and really creating in very large cannabis companies. And the two top cannabis companies in the world, I worked with in Canada, in Toronto, for approximately 3 years, understanding the cannabinoid health profile. And today, my life now is working with people like you, Dan, working with very, very large global sports organizations, and thought leaders and large corporations and everyday people, making products that I feel make a difference, that gives them that mental, physical edge, that performance edge, because of the background that I had trying to aspire to a higher level. And so, I love living in Idaho. I find that you do have to travel, but finding for me, Idaho is peace. I have a place that's not so busy, and it gives me time to, thought process and to reflect upon things. Clean air, good water, right? Great resources. So, that's who I am. That's my background, and it's led me that passion for performance, trying to find an edge, not to beat people, not to necessarily compete against everybody in the world, but just to make myself better. And that's where the biohacking has come in, alchemism has come in. I was on a global biohacking documentary with some really famous people. I was very honored to be on. But it's always for my personal self, my friends. Dan, you've tried several of their products, and my family, to just optimize yourself, to make yourself better, Dan, to be uncommon, right? To be uncommon.
Yeah. What? Speaking of that, Rick, it seems like you've had a lot of uncommon things in your life, and a lot of times, just being an athlete. When did you start getting serious? A lot of times our parents put us into soccer or something when we're 4, 5, 6 years old, or baseball, or obviously for me it was more wrestling, and then football. Football started in where I grew up in 3rd grade. They didn't really have it before then, but before that they had soccer, which I think starts like 4 or 5, even in the US. And wrestling actually starts pretty young. So I still remember I couldn't wait till I got into 3rd grade so I could start playing football. Again, I'm the 2 older brothers. I'm the youngest of 5, 2 brothers, 2 sisters, all of them older. But both of my brothers wrestled. Both of my brothers played football. So that's kind of where I just wanted to do, just want to be like them. So you, obviously soccer was your sport. Did you try other sports, or when did you actually start saying, you know what, I either really enjoy this, or better than most everybody else at this? When was it that you made the decision to really start focusing on it?
When I love to compete. I'm playing in the men's team. We travel around the country. I'm going to still play at a high level in my age group. I just love to compete about anything. I just love the aspect of competition and raising your intellect or raising your physical ability. What I didn't say, and why I gravitated towards soccer, I just found that I was very quick, and my body type, right, is in for a soccer player. I mean, you mentioned suicides at the beginning. Look, the whole game of soccer, the whole 90 minutes is freaking suicide.
Yeah.
The whole thing's a suicide. So you have to push yourself, especially in that last 5 minutes of the first half and the last 5 minutes of that game, right? That's where you win and lose in that last 5% or 5 minutes of that game. But I was born, when I was born pigeon-toed. I wore a corrective brace for about 3 years when I was from 4 to about 7. I remember going to kindergarten in first grade wearing these corrective brace for every day for about 3 years. But what it did was it made me kind of bow-legged. And actually, if you look this up, about 90% of soccer players are somewhat bow-legged. It's just an anatomical edge on how you take off when you take your first step. You're just quicker than in general. And so I just found myself that by sheer chance, I love to be competitive, and that my body type was good for soccer. And then I just took it from there and just thought, I played everywhere I could against all different age groups. You see those documentaries. That's why those Brazilians and those players over in Colombia play so well, because the 5-year-old kids playing against 15-year-olds all day in the street.
Yeah.
And it's just seeking out the best competition to make yourself the best you can be. And Dan, I'm going to leave you I'm going to go plug my phone in. Just give me 30 seconds.
No problem.
So you can talk. I'll be right back.
But haven't you noticed, Clavon, almost every single person that we've had on this podcast in some degree has been pretty competitive with something.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Hasn't all been athletics, but it's been competitive in something. And I think that's, one of the things that I've noticed in life is just that competitive drive that you want to win.
Right.
And I don't really know exactly where that comes from, but I don't know to me, I don't know the person. I don't identify with them at all that is fine with losing. I don't even care. Like when we were in Costa Rica, I was joking with Rick a little bit, because I was doing meetings like a month ago in Costa Rica. And that's one of those places that he's talking about. Every single person has grown up from 4 or 5 years old, been playing soccer, and so we had some 2 different groups of leaders, and they both wanted to play us in soccer. And I have not played soccer since I was probably 6, 7, 8 years old. But I'll tell you one thing: I didn't want to lose any of those games. I was keeping score, and I was trying as much as I could to compete. And I don't really know what that is, Clavon, if it's just something that some people have and some people don't. I don't care if it's ping pong. I don't care if it's playing. I don't care what it is. I don't care if we're playing marbles or something. I'm trying to figure out a way to win. And if somebody is way better, I get motivated to continue to play them on over and over and over. I don't like playing people that I beat easily. I'd rather play somebody that just kills me and then just play them every single day over and over and over. And that, in my opinion, is the only way that you really get good.
Right.
Is you find somebody that's much better than you, and then you just keep playing them. I remember when I first took up racquetball, and I'll be quiet here in a second, Rick. We were just taking some time while you're getting plugged in. And the person I played with played quite a bit. And I think the first couple of games, I was like, this sport is freaking crazy. This is stupid. They hit it in the corner. It doesn't even bounce. There's not even a possible way that I can hit the ball back. This is ridiculous. But instead of like going and saying, hey, I want to go play somebody that is a beginner like me, my skill set, I was like, no, I want to play this person every single day, as long as I can, until I get somewhat competitive. And I think that's typically how you get better. And that's one of the things that I've realized in life. Far too often, people, especially if somebody's been the best and then they go to college or something, you have that eye-opening experience that it's like, holy crap, all of these guys were the best at their high school. Now, Do I really want to be the best? Do I really want to, push and get that much better? Or am I okay with just being way better than most? Another thought that I had today is, and I've heard it before, but I've never really thought about it. But you want to know that the number one killer of greatness is good. The reason that people, let's say you have a good job that pays $150,000 a year. That's what will keep that person from ever being great and making 100 million. Does that make sense? Being good is the number one killer of greatness. Because it's like, hey, life's pretty good at $150,000 or $250,000 per year. But is that what you're capable of? Is that all you're capable of? Obviously, every single one of us is capable of everything, unlimited. But it's not what we're capable of that defines us. It's what we settle for that defines us. So, anyways, back to you, Rick, or Clavon, if there's anything that you have to bring on to what Rick was talking about.
Hey, Rick, I wanted to ask you a question, Rick, if we could, really quick. Can you just, for those who are not familiar with biohacking and just the whole idea of alchemy, could you just give a little quick insight on those aspects of your career and just specifically those words in general, what they mean?
Yeah. So, biohacking, I think, has probably been around since dawn of men, right? And mankind. It's just now that they've, Dave Asprey, for example, and a few other, Dr. Mercola, have kind of defined what biohacking is. And it's, in general, biohacking is taking something and optimizing it or making it better or making your surroundings better. Biohacking with, take coffee. We all drink coffee every day. Most coffee is acidic. There's some mold properties to most coffee that we all drink every single day. But so someone takes that coffee, right, and they enhance it, they enrich it, they change it, and they add like MCT oils. So then you have a certain type of specific coffee that's healthier for you without the negative side effects. Like that's an example of a product or biohacking yourself with a certain product that you take on a daily basis. Another great example is our water quality in this country. I'm very knowledgeable about our tap water in this country and the different pollutants and chemicals, etc. So now we have, reverse osmosis point of use bottles you can buy on Amazon, and people now you can constantly hydrate on a daily basis with something like that, with a reverse osmosis water bottle to take out these pollutants and chlorine, the poisonous gas. That's biohacking. Another example. Dan knows, and Dan travels a lot. I travel to a different country literally every month now. Mexico, Dubai, Brazil, China. Those are in the next 4 months. So biohacking for me is I'll take reading glasses, right, that block out blue light exposure, because I don't want to be subjected to blue light because it damages your eyes. So when I fly in the plane, I have special glasses that block blue light. I wear certain types of material that maybe be impregnated with certain types of like copper, for example, to block out certain pollutants when I go through China. So I think that's biohacking, is the understanding and then taking the action to change things you drink every day, foods you eat every day, clothes you wear as you travel, protecting yourself from elements that are out there and a big one and what I specialize in is nutraceuticals versus drugs, like Wegovy, semaglutide versus a product like a weight loss caramel that works the same way but doesn't have any negative side effects, right? That's a form of biohacking. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, absolutely.
it kind of brings us to where we always take these, Rick, there's 5 key points that we talk about, that we focus on with this uncommon movement. And the first 2 are really what it's all about. The next 2 are what we use to accomplish these first 2 things. And then the last one, giving back, is just something that we think every great person should do. But it's hard to give back if you don't have any excess. And so the first goal that we have is to move everybody, what we would say, to the top 1%. The first one is health and fitness. So it's everything that you've been talking about. And so we probably already know the answer to this, but is there anything, Rick, that you do on a daily basis? Is this something that you think about more now than you used to? Have you always thought again, we kind of already know a lot of these answers, growing up as an athlete and all the way up to professional athlete, semi-pro, and trying to move to the next level. I'm sure health and fitness has always kind of been on your mind. And then what you decided to go into business in is all about health and fitness. But just explain a little bit about why health and fitness is so important to you, if it's become more important, as you're getting older. Nobody wants to start to feel it, and we all want to stay young as long as we can. I talk a lot about, adding more life to your years is completely different than adding more years to your life. And really that's kind of what biohacking is trying to add more life to those years. The doctors, the MDs, they're going to continue to do an okay job of adding more years to your life, but we're all about the quality along with the quantity. So just tell us a little bit about your thought on health and fitness, and if you have any type of morning routine. We've already kind of talked about some of the things, and obviously traveling a lot, sometimes getting off of that routine. If there's anything that you've adapted to be able to stay on routine even while you're traveling, that's something that I struggle with. If I'm just home like 365 days a year, I can get into a routine that I feel comfortable, that I think I could stick to. But when you're on the road, maybe, I don't know, 150, 160, 170 days a year, where I'm like on the road about 50% of the time right now, then sometimes it's a little bit more difficult to stick to the same, comfort zones and routines that you can build around at home, where you control your environment. Now we're going into uncontrolled environments. So what are your thoughts on that, Rick?
Yeah. So that's such a great broad subject, right? You could talk for 9. I've done your show 17 more times. But let me start with, first of all, your health and wellness, your health and fitness. You owe it to yourself. You owe it to yourself. I had the opportunity to go to Turkey and Dubai last year, and went to Istanbul. And when you travel through Turkey, when you travel through Jordan, when you travel through some of these countries, and you realize that the people that live there will never leave their country, their government will not allow them to ever leave, and you understand that they will never have the opportunities. Terribly unfortunate, it's tragic. They will never have the opportunities that we have in this country every single day, just simply because of where they were born.
Wow.
Why do not? I came home from that, and I was able to take my 17-year-old son at the time, and I'm like, every single day, you do something good in your life. You go, you work out, you be prosperous, you help people, you help animals. Because you have the ability. So I want to start right there, that you owe it to yourself, because other people don't even have that luxury in their life. I get up every day grateful and remembering that. Number 2, self-respect, right? You may have a lot of money, you may have success in a lot of different areas, but you can't you can't buy your health and wellness. You have to earn that. You have to earn your physique. You have to earn your ability to run a 6-minute mile or the ability to score a goal in the last 5 minutes. That self-respect that carries every single day, every single month, every year of your life. And other people look at you that way too. So you owe it to yourself and your self-respect. In general, in my life right now, in my ability to interact with professional athletes and where I'm at in my life at my age, I say there's 3 things. Number one, water quality. Obviously, everybody knows you have 3 days, like 3 days with water. Your body's mainly made of water as hydration. But I fully understand the terrible water quality we have in this country, from leaky pipes, bad infrastructure, chlorine being as the number one. It's important for everyone here to understand, when you just go turn that faucet on, you start getting water, where does that water come from? Either it comes from aquifers or it comes from rainwater. It depends on what part of the country you live in, and it's full of pollutants. They take Phoenix, Arizona, 5th largest city in the country. They steal their water from 7 different water sources. They take all that water from the Columbia River, from waterfalls, aquifers, anywhere they can get water. They pour it all into holding tanks, and they pour millions of gallons of chlorine, which is a poisonous gas developed in World War II. Chlorine is because it's a cheap disinfectant to kill everything else that's in that water. And then they pour, you turn your water on. Maybe your house is 2 houses away from the water treatment center and you're lucky. Maybe your house is 100 miles away and that water's going through leaky iron pipes because they can't fix the infrastructure, full of chlorine, which is a deadly chemical, and people get it and they just drink it. You need to filter your water wherever you go, especially in your home. You need to filter it with a point of use as you travel. And if you don't ever take a glass of water fill it from your faucet and immediately drink it, you should at least let it sit for 30 seconds to let that chlorine evaporate. When you smell that water and when you taste that water, that's why bottled water is a multi-billion-dollar industry. They've sold us because we know we don't like the taste or smell of our tap water. It's because of chlorine and other pollutants. So please, health and wellness, priority number one, from a child to middle age to elderly, is filter your drinking water. Number 2, I'm very big on cannabinoid health. Right, I've studied cannabis up in Toronto, Canada, with PhD scientists. I manufacture, I believe, some of the finest cannabinoid products in this country. Cannabinoid health, people, it's a plant. CBD or your THC or your other compounds, other cannabinoids like CBG or CBN, they are plants. It's God's gift to us, or it's Mother Nature's gift, however you want to look at it. It comes from a plant. And if you understand the benefits of CBD for pain, inflammation, stress, anxiety, and sleep benefits, and how it works naturally and synergistically in your body with the endocannabinoid system, which is just like our musculatory system or our respiratory system, and you understand that our trillions of cells, the only way to nourish or feed our cells is through cannabinoids that your body cannot produce. It's a plant vitamin. I take cannabinoids every single day. Everyone around me that I can impact takes CBD or sometimes THC every single day, maybe at night to help them sleep on a moderate basis, but certainly CBD. Cannabinoid health is the future of health and wellness around the world. There's over 120 known cannabinoids. We know THC and we know CBD. It's just in the last 3 years, the U.S. federal government has made it even legal to study. So when Princeton, Harvard, MIT, Ohio State, Michigan, etc., these colleges where our studies come from and our patents come from, when they're 5 more years, you will see different strains, different cannabinoids truly curing major illnesses, PTSD, like clinically proven. It will absolutely happen. It's just a matter of time because our government has suppressed it since like 1918. So cannabinoid health I'm very big on. And then drugs versus supplements. At my age right now, I'm not going to tell you what my age is, but in my age, the average American male is on 5 drugs. 5 drugs, statins or high blood pressure or metabolic syndrome, which is a risk of heart attack, stroke, and heart disease. That's what metabolic syndrome is. And someone my age is on an average of 5 drugs. It is insane. You can replace those drugs, get off those drugs, sometimes with cannabinoids, sometimes with other nutraceuticals, sometimes with nootropics, which is a new form of mental wellness. It's a whole new category, nootropics for mental wellness. Wherever it is, I highly encourage you, get off the drugs. I've worked with Big Pharma for a number of years. I've worked with nutraceuticals and cannabinoid companies. To get off those, they shorten your life, they lower your quality of life, and find alternatives that are plant-based. So, Dan, cannabinoid health, water quality, and supplementation versus drugs. Those are my 3 things that I pivot around in my life right now.
Yeah. What is what's the saying, Clavon or Rick? It's something like, let your food be your medicine, or your medicine will become your food.
Yeah.
Something like that. And so I definitely, feel a lot of what he's saying there, and a couple things that I picked up on. And for me, sometimes it's a little bit frustrating, but that self-respect, those types of things, you owe it to yourself. And we've had we ask every single uncommon person these questions. Every one of them has had some sort of morning routine, something that they do for their health and fitness. So I think that starts to, become a clue. And the other thing is, this is something that we're all in complete control of. I think that, I saw this a while back, and Rick said it. Your fitness level, your body can't be bought. It has to be earned. And so that's a great thing. And some of the top influencers of this era, whether it's Andy Elliott or those people, Andy Elliott is known for, you cannot work for me if you don't have a 6-pack, meaning I literally will not hire you if you're not in phenomenal shape. And if you ever get out of shape, I will fire you. And he can talk about, like, man, that just seems ridiculous. How in the world could somebody say, I will not hire you if you're not in shape? Everybody, it kind of goes against that. And it's like, why can't an employer have specific standards that he wants to hold people to? Because if you listen to him, he says, here's the deal. When somebody walks in my door for a job and they're not in good shape, I already know all I need to know about that person. If somebody walks in that door and they're in phenomenal shape, I already know a lot about that person. I already know he's disciplined. I already know he's got work ethic. I already know all of this. And by having those standards, he's created one of the most successful sales teams ever put together. And I know what a lot of people are thinking. What does being in great shape have to do with making sales? Well, if you look at the numbers they're putting up, maybe it has everything to do with it. And that's kind of why we've put this as the number one part of the Uncommon movement. And here's the bottom line. You don't have to be in phenomenal shape when you start a movement like this, but you better be working towards it. And that's the thing. Again, every single person that we've had on, not everybody's in phenomenal shape, but if they're not, they're working to be better every single day. And that's where I'm at. I look at all these years, and Rick even said it. Yeah, you can be successful financially and not be in good shape, but don't you owe it to yourself to have some self-respect and be in good shape? We've talked about this, Clavon, on episodes. What would you think about somebody who never holds their word, always lies to you, constantly disrespects you? I mean, is that somebody that you would like to hang out with? Nobody likes a liar. Nobody likes somebody who is disrespecting you, taking advantage of you, taking advantage of your time. But yet we constantly do it to ourselves.
To add, obviously not everyone, different ages or different opportunities or different genetics, right? Or
for sure,
environment. But you don't have to have a six. What I think what make you uncommon, help you in your life, right, is just losing that extra 5 pounds or that 5 pounds toward that 50, or just doing something, maybe doing 20 push-ups that you could never have done before. Those wins, those little wins add up, and it makes you just feel better about yourself, and that also carries to everyone else. And there's a physical, right? It's the dopamine release. It's a true physical dopamine release when you work out. And I don't care what shape you're in, that dopamine release is euphoric. It helps you get through the day. It helps you not take drugs, right? It helps you not crave sugars, etc. So just working out, all the other intrinsic benefits, but that physical dopamine release is amazing for you in so many other ways.
Yeah, and something to point out, as he talked about, just those little wins. That's like the book Atomic Habits. But those little wins, you win this and you just win every day because they add up. But so do losses. Like if you just lose a little bit every day, it's not going to be long. Here's what's interesting in life. The exact model that creates success is the exact model that creates failure. Meaning the success is all built by these little wins every day and compounding and compounding and compounding. And failure is these little losses every day and compounding and compounding and compounding. And it's just, how it is, but it's just having that goal of doing better every single day. And I mean, Rick made a great point. I'm not saying I'm Andy Elliott and you're no good if you don't have a six pack. I'm working hard to get in the shape that I feel that I should be in for myself. And showing myself, respect, like he said, and being like, I mean, come on, I'm going to be 50 here in like 2 weeks. And you got to start moving in that right direction. We don't know how long everybody has here. So I love that, Rick, and a lot of great information there on health and fitness and why it's so important. The next thing that we discuss is finances, but not just income. We specifically focus on residual income. And the reason why, Rick, is there's a lot of things people can do to make a lot of money. But just like as a human being, your health is maybe your most valuable asset. Right along with that is going to be your time. And so the reason we focus so much on residual income is because that's what gives you control of your time. Linear income, if I have to go and work in order to get paid, again, there's a lot of jobs, doctors, lawyers, things like that. They can make a decent amount of money, but they don't have the lifestyle that you could have with that money if you had your time. And so what are your thoughts, Rick? I know the businesses that you have and stuff like that, but I also know you have some investments and things. What's your thoughts specifically on the importance of residual income compared to linear income, meaning the type of income that can pay you over and over and over compared to the type of income that you're only paid while you're actually working?
Yeah, I mean, there's a great saying: if you look for a job, I mean, you can either go look for a job, or you can go out there and make your life and make your own investments. If you don't make your own investments in your life for this passive residual income, you're gonna go, you don't find a purpose, and you go take a job. That employer is gonna find a purpose for you, right?
Yeah.
They're gonna find a purpose for you. So the residual, the ability to lay out a plan, and look, we all fall down. Things always don't work for everybody. You get back up, but a long-term plan. I started buying houses in Boise when I was like 20 years old. We're very lucky in Idaho because it's one of the two states that sometimes have a quit claim deed where you can actually just quit claim a house over to someone. And I started buying houses. At one point, I had 35 houses in about 3 years. I still own a lot of those houses. And now my 18-year-old son and my 21-year-old daughter, right, they still work. They have to understand the value of every God-given day they have, because I want that to be ingrained in them. However, because of that passive income, because of the ability I made, some money from buying homes early, and they're paid off, and there's, real passive income now. My son is actually, today he's in Bali for a month. He's going to Dubai. He's going to China. He traveled to Turkey with me, and he's learning about the world because we were fortunate to have passive income that I can show him opportunities that I never got, right? And same with my daughter. She's in Italy right now going to school. And I'm saying this because wherever your goal is, whatever life circumstances are thrown your way, that ability to think outside the box, think uncommonly, and it even if you don't realize it immediately within this instant gratification world that we're living in, to plan that out, because it's all going to work out. There'll be so many amazing opportunities from that passive income, whether you start a second job, right, and you start selling products or selling services or education to build that passive income. It's going to pay dividends, because we all just went through COVID a few years ago. Yeah. There's always an instance, there's always an obstacle, but that passive income carries you through and enriches your life and helps you enrich other people's lives and take advantage of new opportunities that you'd never think of.
Yeah, no question. I mean, I think that there's so many opportunities out there these days to create a residual income that, I mean, somebody just needs to find anything that they're passionate about and find out ways that you can make money. I mean, the whole concept these days with social media and the amount of money that these social media platforms will pay you for views. Literally, I mean, anybody can turn anything into an income if you just, focus on it. There's 8 billion people. There's probably tens of millions of them that are interested in anything that you can possibly dream up. And so, some things that I may not be interested in at all, there's probably 100 million people very interested in that exact same thing. So I do think that just having the understanding of what residual income is, and then finding that whatever it is, whether it's investing. Right now, we have things that are becoming very popular, like cryptocurrency. I mean, I think Bitcoin got to almost $73,000 today. And there's somebody not too long ago that gave 15,000 Bitcoin for 2 pizzas. Think about that. That was the first purchase with Bitcoin. Taking this off the top of my head, I used to know the exact number, but I think it was 15,000 Bitcoin for 2 pizzas. Think about that. 100 Bitcoin right now is worth 7.2 million. Those pizzas cost him billions of dollars. But there's just some unique opportunities right now for people to start making some residual income. There's people that I saw online the other day, somebody that made $1 billion off of Shiba Inu, the coin. I mean, you think of these billionaires as like these people that created these crazy and incredible businesses, and Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and Steve Jobs and these types of people that are billionaires. But there's billionaires that bought a meme coin a couple years ago and made $1 billion. They were showing this family that when Bitcoin was $900, they sold everything that they had, their house, every car, every position, put it all in Bitcoin. How many people thought that was the dumbest thing that you could ever possibly do? And now, $900 to $72,000. Now, again, you never know, but now they're looking pretty smart. If it would have gone to $0, everybody would see, I told you, you're an idiot. But here's the end of the day. If you don't give yourself the opportunity, if you're not in something that has that potential, you're never going to get it. And that's the big thing that I want to, get people thinking. Bottom line, change does not happen in your life without opportunity. Opportunity has to be present for change to take place. And so the mission here with this Uncommon Movement is just to get people to understand that every single person in the world has opportunity possible. And understand that you're the one that allows somebody to tell you what you're worth.
Yep.
What the Uncommon Movement is trying to do is to make sure that you're never in the position that somebody tells you what you're worth. And in order to be in that position, you have to have opportunity. So it can be all kinds of opportunities. Just think what you're passionate about and figure out how to monetize that. Now, Rick, those are the main goals. Health and fitness, move to the top 1%. Residual income, move in the top 1%. But that's easy to say. Okay, cool. But how? How's the big question? So that's the next 2 areas that we focus on. And the first one is personal development. So what are your thoughts on personal growth and development? Have you had mentors in your life? Are there any books or anything that you would recommend any of our listeners to, that have helped you? Anybody that you follow on social media, favorite books or anything like that?
Yeah, and Dan, so I have about 5 minutes. But I love Malcolm Gladwell. I love all of his books. My favorite book is probably Outliers. If you have not read Outliers, it is the 10,000 hour rule, but they're all true stories within that book. And one example, why are approximately 97% of professional hockey players around the world in any country born in January, right? Like, wow, how's that happen and why? And it explains how and why over a 10,000 hour or over a, over a 30-year period. So it gives you this amazing perspective of work and laying out that map, right? And so Malcolm Gladwell is my favorite. Outliers is my favorite within Malcolm Gladwell. And I love to read and podcasts about just ingenuity and disruptive technology. I mean, Musk, right? He's the Einstein of our era, and Musk is a go-to for everybody. But there's a lot of people out there that are disruptive in their field, and you can learn from that. And you ask yourself the question. I was on the panel, a global panel about on December 5th in Las Vegas. There's a lot of people on this panel. I happen to be on one of them. And they ask the question, why? Why do you do this? Why you do this? Why are you this way? And my answer was, why not? Why would I not think differently? Why would I not ask a question? Why are all the energy drinks the same? Why is that? Why has no one created a different category that's actually functional and makes sense for someone to use? Right? So it's that questioning, it's seeking out. Podcasts are amazing. We have resources to your fingertips, driving to work, on the bus, riding your bike, at the gym. Find that resource, podcast, the book, but find outliers, find disruptors, right? Because they view things differently. And if you don't fully agree with it, it gives you a different perspective and gives you growth.
That's huge.
For sure. Clavon, anything you want to add before we move on? Any questions? Anything that's in your mind?
I know Rick has only a couple minutes left, so I just kind of want to maybe shift it around a little bit and just dedicate it to him. At the end of the day, Rick, if you had to leave one or two tips for that entrepreneur or that person that's trying to get over the edge, maybe with some rough times, what would be that one piece of mindset, that one, from all your experiences, man, one or two things you'd leave some people that are trying to get into that uncommon space?
Number one, you have to believe in yourself, right? You every single day, some person or some situation, because they've been programmed to believe that way, or they took the safe route. Believe in yourself. Believe in yourself that you have something that's unique, or your idea is valued, or that you can make a difference internally. And some days that's really hard because you got all the world sometimes feel. And so when you need to believe in yourself, when you need to find that inner core strength, go back to your child, whatever makes you happy. For me, I go play sports. I go play soccer. I go to the gym. Something that's basic, doesn't cost me hardly any money, but it brings that happiness and that brings that belief back into myself. Or when I was 20 and I was trying to play at a certain level, and that carries me through the day. So you have to believe in yourself, and you have to surround yourself with someone that supports you. It's your family, your friends. Dan's been a great friend of mine for 5 years. It might sound a little crazy, but you asked me a question. My dog is one of my best, most treasured, valued things in my life. I probably spend 3 hours a day with him. He makes me happy. He makes me believe and want to do better things. So wherever that is, your spouse, your friend, your animal, your dog, your horse, your counselor, your podcast mentor, believe in yourself and find a resource that you can huddle around, that's your team, that will say, yes, you can do this through the hard times, because we all need that. And I've been fortunate enough to have been married for 25 years, and that's mine and my animals that I surround myself with. Those are my two best tips.
Wow.
Yeah. Clavon, I love that because we've discussed this a lot. And one of the simplest explanations of success ever. He broke it down to 3 things. And the second one is what Rick just talked about. But we had a guest on a couple weeks ago, and he basically just said, hey, this is what I've learned. The first thing is a decision. You have to make the decision to do it. You have to make the decision to try. The second thing is belief. I've seen every successful person that I've ever met, whatever they accomplished, I know that they believed that they could. And then the third thing is just a roadmap and an action plan. So if somebody wants to say, okay, what do I need to do in order to be successful? Well, first you need to make a decision. Then you need to believe in yourself. And then the third is you need to find a roadmap or a system to follow and follow it. I mean, that truly is the simplistic approach of exactly how do I become successful. And this fourth area of focus with Uncommon is accountability. And what are your thoughts on accountability? Is that something that you think about? Is it more holding yourself accountable, self-respect that you talked about is a form of accountability? Partners, accountability partners, business partners that hold each other accountable, spouse hold you accountable. What's your thoughts on accountability and the importance of that in reaching your goals, whether it's health and fitness goals or financial goals? What are your thoughts with accountability?
Yeah, that's such a great question, and it's just such a broad. I think, again, going back, we all have an obligation. We all owe it to ourselves to try to be our best, to try to go to that workout and be a good person, treat others with respect. The accountability, but it does have to start with you. I mean, right? You have to wake up and understand that every day is a gift, that you have an obligation to yourself to try to succeed. And for me, it's for my family or for my business or for my partners or for the investors who put money into my company. And then being a good, being a good human being and being part of society. Maybe it's this local community, maybe it's your church, maybe it's a group, maybe you join Uncommon movement. It could be local, regional, national, global. But when you surround yourself with the same people, the same goals, that accountability grows and grows, because you start with yourself. You honor yourself, you honor your family, and your pets if you have them, etc. And then you find that group of individuals that have the same commonalities. That accountability then grows and makes you stronger and makes you a better person. So it always starts at home, but seek out those groups, seek out other people, seek out those outliers, seek out those disruptors that help you grow. And I think that accountability just grows as well.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit about this last week, if you remember, Clavon, when we were talking about accountability. And the thought that came to me is you have to set a goal in order to have some accountability. Meaning there has to be something that you're trying to accomplish. You have to have something to be accountable to. And so I think that's one of the first sets is like, where a lot of people will say, let's say that you have a goal to get in better shape. So if you let a bunch of people know that your goal is to lose 25 pounds in the next 60 days, and you set up some accountability, that now all of a sudden they're going to help you achieve that goal by holding you accountable to it, to say, hey, like let's just say, for example, that I wanted you to be my accountability partner, Rick. And so I said, Rick, here's the deal. I want to lose 25 pounds over the next 60 days. And I really need you to watch me and call me on my own bullshit that if I'm not doing the things, if I'm not working out, not eating better, stuff like that, I'm not going to ever reach it. So would you help me stay on track? And then you're going to say, yeah, for sure. So I say, okay, here's what I'm going to do, Rick. I'm going to send you a picture at the gym every day. If there's a day that I don't send it, say, hey, how was your day? Didn't get a gym pic. What's going on? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that the accountability comes in when you've set a goal that you can be held accountable for. And so I think that's part of the whole success, is making that decision that you're going to do this, believing that you can do it, but now you just have a little bit of help that, you know, pushes a little bit over the edge. I know, like, if you look at like massive companies like Weight Watchers, and basically all they've done is put together accountability groups in the form of meetings. And they've shown that the people who would actually go to a Weight Watchers meeting and get on that scale and weigh in lose weight way more often than the people who never go and never weigh in. That's just kind of common sense. You know what I mean? Well, I'm not going to go to a meeting every single week and get on that scale in front of a whole bunch of people if I'm gaining weight every week. I'm either going to start losing weight or I'm going to stop going to the meeting. But these people have created these accountability. I mean, what's Alcoholics Anonymous?
Yeah.
It's an accountability system. And people have said, hey, I'm going to join this group because I want to make a change in my life. And then they're assigned accountability partners. So the thing that I see is when we're talking about this uncommon movement, the reason that accountability is a big part of it is because we're trying to get people to where 99% of the people are not getting on their own. But in order to do that, they literally have to make the decision. They have to have the goals, because if I don't know your goals, Rick, I can't hold you accountable.
Yeah.
But as soon as you tell me your goals, now I can hold you accountable and give you a better chance of achieving those. I think it's human nature.
Yeah.
Humans don't like to let people down. It seems like some do. Some are fine with it. But if you just look at the masses, don't like to let people down. So if somebody else is counting on you, there's a better chance of you pulling through than if it's just yourself. We'll let ourselves down every single day. And most people do, which is the sad thing about life.
Yeah.
Is most of us care more about somebody else than about ourselves. Anyways, we'll go on to the last part and just kind of get your feeling on it.
Stan.
But the last thing is I've had a saying for a long time. I've said it in different ways. One that I do like is get rich, give back. And it's just what you're doing right now. You're giving back. Everything that you've learned, all this experience. I mean, I know for sure on December 5th, when you were asked to be part of this panelist, it's some of the brightest minds in the world. And when is that coming out? Is that still coming out on Netflix, or what's going on with that? Do you know the time frame?
It'll be launched on Apple, Roku, Netflix, every medium out there. They're editing it, and then it'll be launched this summer. Is the schedule to be launched?
Okay, awesome. So we'll definitely be watching for that, Rick. But again, we really want to thank you. I'm sure our viewers are getting a lot from what you've been throwing out there. And our goal is pretty simple. We want to help every male 16 and up realize who they are and have the opportunity to be successful. And we want to create a massive movement of men that all they want to do is help everybody achieve success. And so the sole purpose of this podcast is to interview successful person after successful person after a successful person, and then realize that people are going to start hearing all of these commonalities. Again, this is only our 17th episode, but there's commonalities in pretty much every single episode. But it's still worth doing more and more because there's just a little bit different tweak here, a little bit different thought here. This I can really identify with. This maybe not so much. So I think it's important. But what are your thoughts on giving back? I know you're not against it because we're not paying you to be here. You're freely giving of your most valuable asset, your time, to help other people. So we really do appreciate that, Rick. And but what's your thoughts on giving back?
Well, I think, giving back in general just makes you a healthier and a happier person. I mean, the interaction with people, right, is so, I think maybe it's given on a daily basis. It's so understated. People, the experiences that they have, grow you, they enrich you, they allow you to then to enrich, grow yourself, obviously, but enrich lives of other people. Two quick examples. I coached I was a youth club soccer director, so a very big club, thousands of kids. And I remember coaching these kids. I did it for 10 years. The most amazing experiences working with these kids, seeing them when they were 8 years old and coaching a team to whether they're 16 years old, watching a kid grow up and being part of their life and teaching them life skills, right? Winning, losing, how do you compete to compete in life, right? Teamwork, working with your teammates, with 10 other players, because there's 11 players on the field. Interacting with the parents, that not always the best experiences, right? Your soccer parent, but that's enriching. So giving back can be not just financially. I mean, it absolutely can help, and we all should give back to events around the world that you believe in, right, to help the less fortunate. But just giving back your time, soccer. The last, before I go. And I didn't think I was going to talk about this, but talking about giving back, and it's a moment I'll never, ever forget. And it was a moment with my father, and it was a moment with a stranger. Is about 2 years ago. I mentioned my dad was a veteran, and we went to a local veterans administration, and we went to a dollar store, and we bought $15 worth of those little cordial chocolates, like $1, these little 6-pack of chocolates. And we went to the Veterans Administration, and we walked through, and we met people that were from all different conflicts. There were active veterans, retired veterans, World War II, different conflicts, and these were strangers. And we came in there, and we said hello during the Christmas holiday, and we gave them $1 box of chocolate. And there were grown men, Marines, Navy, grown men crying because we took the time to go visit a stranger and say thank you, and thank you for your service, but just thank you. And I walked out, and my dad was crying. And so that was a give back I'll never forget. I hope I get to do it again. But it grew me as a person. It made me appreciate every single day, right? It makes me work harder, and I want to go back. And I want to go back and help and just say hello. Just something like that can change your whole perspective, and it gives me a moment with my father that I'll always cherish. So giving back, maybe of all the 5 things we talked about, it's definitely, I'm glad you have this hit list, Dan, Clavon, because it's definitely a fundamental thing we should do, and it will enrich your life.
Yeah, I love that, Rick, and I love that experience that you just shared with everybody. So thank you so much. And I can tell you, here's why it's so important to me. I thought growing up that everything was about making money having cool cars, traveling all over the world, staying at the nicest resorts, eating at the best restaurants and all of that. Hey, that's fun. That's great. It's awesome experiences. But there's a lot of people that have all the money in the world and are miserable. And what I started to notice, I literally redefined success once I did everything that I thought would make me happy. Once I started to make all this money and travel all over the world, and then I still, same things bothered me. I still would be like, oh, this sucks. I'd complain all the time. And it's just like, what? Who am I to complain about anything? I've made tens of millions of dollars, fly all over the world, do all these things. And so I completely redefined my definition of success to happiness. And literally, it doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter all of these things. There's a lot of very wealthy people that are miserable. And I mean, how many times do we see these movie stars, these professional, actors and singers and, people with the most successful bands commit suicide?
Yeah.
Every year it happens. And you sit there and think, holy cow, they just committed suicide, and everybody in your mind would love what they have, but they weren't happy. And so I started to realize, well, where does that happiness come from?
Yeah.
It doesn't come from receiving. That's very short term.
Yeah.
Meaning you have this goal to get a Ferrari. You go get that Ferrari and it's super cool, but not for very long.
Yeah.
And so I started making it a goal to give back as often as possible. And especially like around Christmas and things like that. Every year, there's a bunch of areas around the world, including right in my hometown. So I always try and focus on my community, because it never made sense to me that, there's all these starving kids all over in third world countries and different things, and all these people going without. That's true. But in every community, there's kids that don't have food, that don't have gifts on Christmas. And I started to think, as a parent, I couldn't imagine anything sadder in my life than having zero presents for your kids on Christmas Day.
100%.
And so I started going like,
I have to leave here, gentlemen. I'm very, very sorry.
no problem. But that's really what we're getting at. I'll leave with one thing, and you can jump off, Rick. But one thing that kind of hit me this week, Clavon, I like those things that are like the same words. This is the same words repeated. This is kind of like that give back. And it says, always leave them better. And then you repeat it, always leave them better. Meaning, if every interaction that I have with a human being, I have the goal to leave them better than before we talked, I'm going to also be leaving better.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So if you just think of that, always leave them better, and you will always leave them better, meaning we will become better.
Right.
So I was talking to a business partner, and he was talking about, just a lot of times we just talk about these random thoughts that come into our mind. Like earlier today, that thought came into my mind that, well, what if our ego is our default programming that's programmed us to not succeed? And so it's that voice in our head that every time we start getting on the right track, that it tries to pull us back to our comfort zone. That whole concept of being good is the absolute killer of being great. And so it's just interesting. Like, a lot of times I'll write things down, and a lot of the discussions that I have with my peers are these types of discussions of just things that have come to my mind lately, things that I'm focusing on, things that I'm doing. And so one of my business partners said that, just came to his mind, and he literally got out of bed and wrote it down. And then he showed me, and it was that always leave them better.
Double meaning.
And you will always leave them better. If you always leave them worse, you'll always leave them worse. So I'll always leave them as a worse person if I leave them worse. I'll always leave them as a better person if I leave them better. But that to me kind of aligned with giving back and just that concept of understanding. Anytime that I, in a situation, in my mind, if I always want to leave them better, how don't you improve? I'm going to step aside right now just to kind of grab this.
Mm-hmm.
This was given to me a long time ago, and I still give them out. I've given a ton of them out, but it's a coin, and it kind of goes along with that same thing, and it says Jinshai, and I don't know exactly what that means. I think they said, but on the back of it, it says, never treat another person in a manner that would make them feel small, including yourself. And so I've had this for years and years and years, and I probably have. I'm getting low. At one time, I had hundreds and hundreds of them, and when I meet somebody that seems like an important person, and don't take this wrong, Clavon, if I haven't given you one, I have one for you, but I give these away sometimes, and it is something that I think about, but it would be the same thing. Always leave them better, and always leave them better is similar to never treat another person in a manner that would make them feel small. And I think the important aspect of this is including yourself. So much of what we talked about tonight was that, self-respect and you deserve it. And so often I think people don't feel that way. They don't feel like they deserve to be, or that they're capable of being spectacular or marvelous or amazing. They're just like, everybody's told them. There's as you know, I'm big into music because of the emotions that it can bring. And one of the guys that works for me in the business is a talented singer. And so I talked him into putting a song on TikTok every single day. It doesn't matter if it ever goes off. I just said, hey, let's do a test, because Mr. Beast said that the average person with 1 million subscribers on YouTube has over 2,000 videos up. So I'm like, let's do something 2,000 days in a row and see what happens. And so he's been learning a different song and doing the song. But there was years that we traveled around and we wrote a couple songs together where I kind of did the outline, and then he put it. One of them is called "Break the Cycle," and what he talks about is it talked about when you're young, you always thought that you could do anything, and I'm paraphrasing. This isn't the exact words, but then it goes on and it says, "But then they put thoughts into my head until I started to believe them." And that's kind of what I think has happened to so many people, and why I'm so passionate about this movement, this uncommon movement, is because unfortunately a bunch of people have contaminated the minds of these kids so much that they started to believe them. And that's what this is all about. It's about giving the opportunity
Yeah.
so that nobody can tell you what you're worth. Nobody can tell you what to wear, what time you have to be somewhere, and stuff like that. And we want to switch that narrative that's being pounded into their minds. We want to reprogram that ego that's constantly pushing us towards comfort, constantly pushing us towards the easy way, the more convenient way,
Right.
and not embracing the difficulty and realizing that, hey, I want it to be hard. I want to do things that are difficult because I know that most people are going to quit as soon as it gets difficult. But we're not going to. Make it harder, we'll push harder. Gets harder, we'll push even harder. And that's what we're putting together here, and that's the goal of this, is having that mindset that nobody will ever tell a member of this movement what they're worth. And at the same time, every single person in this movement will always leave them better. And in turn, they will always leave them better. So that really are the things that have been on my mind that I wanted to just kind of get out there on this podcast and see, you know, what other people think of it. But anyways, it's been an interesting day, good day, but I'll leave it at that. But not too often do I go from 1111 to 111, 222, 333, 444, 555, and have the different people in the office pointed out the 11th day of March, the 11th week of the year, our 17th podcast. And again, I am as passionate as ever, Clavon. I think the work that we're doing needs to be done. And I'll leave it at this and let you close out. I saw something that I need to find the recording and post it on Instagram, basically saying, this is the exact reason we're so passionate about this movement. And it had two people on a podcast that are from the military, and more specifically, special forces in the military. So these are very uncommon people. And they were saying there's a statistic that they just saw that 77% of 17 to 24-year-old males do not qualify to join the military.
Wow.
They're either too obese, addicted to drugs, or not capable mentally to do the tasks that need to happen. And they said the scary part about that is if that continues, that's going to leave our nation in a very vulnerable situation.
I can imagine.
And so it's time right now that somebody steps up and does something about it. Another thing that I thought of that I thought was kind of interesting, talked about an experiment, and it was with a pottery class. And one of them said, you have all semester to make one cup. And that's what you're going to be graded on, that one cup. And the other class said, through this semester, you're going to be graded on how many cups you can make. Whoever makes the most cups is going to get the best grade. Not the quality, quantity. whoever makes the most. And what they found was the group that did the most within their first or second or third cup, everyone after was better than the ones that only focused on one.
Mm.
And so the concept that they were showing was just that mass repetition is always going to beat that person who's, really logically trying to just create one masterpiece.
Right.
So that's the thing that I want everybody to also realize with success. So much of success is just getting out there, doing the work, and putting those blinders on. It's like going back to that YouTube channel.
Mm.
If the average person that has 1 million subscribers has 2,000 videos, I look at that as our YouTube. Or I look at that as our podcast. We're on 17. So you could throw that same thing. The average podcast that has 1 million subscribers probably has thousands of episodes.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So we just push every single week until we're thousands of weeks into it. And other people are waiting to figure out how to get the perfect podcast
Mm-hmm.
and the perfect setup and the best studio and the best guests and all of this. And they're still on episode 0.
Right.
And it's really just about getting to episode 17 and then 18 and then 80 and then 180 and then 1,800.
Right.
And that's what not only success in podcasting is about, it's success in anything is about. So, and just doing 2,000 podcasts doesn't guarantee that your podcast is going to be successful, but it does definitely guarantee that you have some perseverance, that you have some drive, that you're an uncommon person.
Right.
Because it's probably more uncommon to get to episode 2,000 and not have a following, because everybody else would have given up even before episode 17. Most people give up at episode 0 because they think that they have some things to say, but they're still trying to get it perfect. And this is really all because of you, Clavon. That was just like, hey, I've done StreamYard before. I'm down building a studio in my office for the perfect podcast and getting all the right mics. Okay, hey, this is the same mic. This is the same preamp that Joe Rogan uses and all these other people use. And I get all of these so that I can put them all in my podcast studio so that I can start a podcast. And I started on that podcast studio 2 years ago and was still on episode 0.
Right.
And then you're like, hey, I've done StreamYard before. Let's start now. And I'm like, yeah, let's start now. So anyways, that's my week, episode 17.
Yeah.
I'm done. Let's have.
Dan, the one thing I wanted you to, just before we close out, we talked about giving back, and so many people believe that you should give back anonymously. It's almost like that ego or just that conditioning concept. And then when most people say that's the proof, everyone else just signs on to it. But, we have spoken about in this day and age, it's 2024.
Yeah.
And there needs to be a shift and a change in how we look at things. And so could you just speak about how, giving anonymously has its time, but
I used to agree with that 100%. So right. I would do a bunch of things and never say anything about it. Leave stuff on people's door anonymously and things like that. And then I saw somebody talk about it. And they said, we get a lot of hate. And what they were doing is also something that I've done. And actually it's been one of the most enjoyable things that I've done. And it can be any size, but they do, they started with like $20, $100, $1,000. And now I know some of them do thousands of dollar dinners. And so here's basically what it is. if we're going to set up a group, and let's just say that it's a $1,000 group, everybody in that group, when we go to whatever restaurant we decide, and it's not every time they go to a restaurant, this is maybe once a quarter. So many people could participate in a $1,000 group if you're doing it once a quarter. That's $4,000 a year. But let's say there's a group of 10. We go to dinner. Everybody at that dinner leaves $1,000 tip. So if there's 10 of us, that waiter or waitress is getting $10,000 tonight. And if it's $100 dinner and there's 10 of us, they're getting $1,000 tip tonight. And so they posted on the social media of this. I don't know if it was $100 or $1,000. Let's say it was $100. And they got all this hate. Oh, you guys are just like bragging. You guys are just showing that you're cool and this and that. And they said, no, you can think that. But the reason we're doing this is because I got the idea in the first place from somebody else who posted it on social media. And I already know of 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 different groups that are now doing the same thing because they saw us do it, or they saw somebody else do it, or they saw somebody else do it. So the reason we're talking about this and explaining some of the things that we do isn't to brag at all, because it's not just giving money that we're talking about. Your most valuable asset is the time. So what we're doing right here, Clavon, giving our time is more valuable than when I go and give $1,000 tip to somebody. But at the end of the day, the reason that we want to show is so that others will see it. There's so many things that I've personally done to give back that I never would have thought of if I didn't see somebody else do it. And some of the things that have been my best experiences. Example, we knew of a specific situation that somebody that happened to be an immigrant was living very difficult, going to school, had 3 kids, 1 vehicle, between the husband and wife, 1 vehicle, I think actually 4 kids, and their vehicle broke down. And we knew from the owner of the restaurant that for him to get to work every day was having to Uber, and then having to figure out how to get the kids to here or there was Ubering. And so we bought a minivan for like $12,000, something like that. And there was a group of us that bought it. And then when we went to that restaurant, the tip was the keys. And I didn't come up with that idea. I saw somebody else do it. And I thought, man, that would be awesome to have that experience and to give them the keys. They could not believe it, Clavon. I got so much more out of that than if you would have given me a car.
Right.
So and I never would have thought about doing that. And I'm not saying this to brag or to do anything. I didn't come up with it. Other people have given away but I mean, what did Oprah get famous for?
Right.
Hey, everybody in the audience gets a car. Everybody you know what I mean? But it's something that I love doing. So it's almost like selfishness for me to give back because I get more out of it than they do. And so that's why we talk about it, not to brag, not to say, oh, wow, look how cool I am. It really is just because I've experienced it, and other people that I work with and I know, they have said the same thing. And I used to not talk about it because of that exact thought that I'm like, oh, if you really cared, you'd do it anonymously. And hey, I'm not arguing with that. I'm not saying that it's not good to give anonymously, if I can even talk. But the reason I'm trying to show more giving back is so that other people can see it, come up with ideas, and they can do it. A lot of the things that I've done that have brought the most joy to myself have been things that I saw other people do and then gave me the idea to do. And so that's why we specifically do talk about some of the things to give back, but it doesn't have to be money. It's time. There's so many amazing things that just show how the world works.
Right.
I'll give 2 examples. There's one guy that I have followed some on TikTok, and I haven't followed him enough I wish that I knew, just so that other people could see what this guy does. But he goes and sees yards that are just overgrown, look horrible, just like a sore, sight to the community. It just looks like crap. And he knocks on their door and asks them if he can clean up their yard for free. So he cleans up the entire yard, does a beautiful job, power washes it, shows the before and after, and now makes a lot of money by doing that for free, because he gets so many views. TikTok, Instagram, and all these are paying him way more than he could ever make by charging these people to clean up their lawn. And I saw another person who goes and gives haircuts. And while he's giving a haircut, he's just talking to him about life, some of the subjects we talk about on this podcast. And he has so many subscribers and such a viewership that now all of a sudden, by giving away free haircuts, he makes way more than if he was cutting hair in even the most expensive salons out there. And so it's just cool in the time that we live in, that, if you get millions of viewers, there's websites and platforms out there that are going to pay you millions of dollars. And so it's just kind of cool to see people doing charity for free. And here's the deal. They were cleaning up free yards for months or years before TikTok or anybody even knew who they were. But now that karma, that effect takes place, and now they're making more than if they never would have done it. But they didn't start off having 1 million subscribers and tens of millions of views on every video. They started off giving back, and then giving back so much. There's a saying that I heard that I just love, and it said, "You never go broke by giving." And I think it's true. And so that's why it's been something, and it became more and more important to me when I redefined my definition of success to happiness, as opposed to making millions or tens of millions or hundreds of millions or doing billions in sales. That can be success, but if you're doing that and you're miserable, I wouldn't say that it's success. And so as soon as I redefined that, I started to focus so much more on giving back, because that's where I saw the happiness coming from. And that's really what the Uncommon Movement is all about. Is it's about creating an opportunity, which in turn we're giving back at the highest level to everybody.
Right.
Because we're trying to put them in a situation that there's nobody ever going to tell them what they're worth. There's nobody ever going to tell them that they can't do it. And we all have that one mission, that at the end of the day, always leave them better, and in turn, always leave them better. I just love that, and it's because, again, I've had this coin for so long. I've given so many of them out, and so when I heard that just the other day, I was like, man, that's very similar to that whole thing. Never do anything that would make another feel small, including yourself. And that's kind of that, always leave them better, in turn, always leave them better. So anyways, that's kind of the long answer, Clavon. And
no, I love the saying. I love the, it's just like the double meaning.
yeah,
People, they got to catch it, always leave them better, and you will always leave them better.
yeah.
It's like really, really powerful. And so Hey, Dan, I think this was awesome, man. Another great episode. And I want to thank Rick for joining us tonight. Smart guy.
Oh man, so smart. So much going on. So many cool things going on that he's doing. And so we'll make sure and send out when those biohacking documentary episodes start popping on Netflix and things like that. Because I saw a lot of the videos from the filming of that, and there's some amazing people.
What's so amazing about it? Like when I think about biohacking, when I think about alchemy, I think of words, state change. And, that's what being uncommon is, right? It's having this state change, especially as it pertains to the personal growth and development, like your mind shifting to another level. And I think that if after about, I don't know, maybe 50 episodes using the AI to draw a lot of these principles from these uncommon men, have it like volume 1, it'll be like a Think and Grow Rich series.
Oh, for sure.
All the powerful things that are, being dropped, all the content, the information, the how-tos, the 3 things that you would share, I mean, it's just a manuscript of how to be great, how to be a, even average great, common. So I look forward to being able to do that. And, it's going to be a lot of fun, but it was a phenomenal episode.
Awesome. Thanks so much for everything you do, Clavon. And let's give it a wrap.
Hey guys, we came, we saw, we conquered. Join us next week for another great episode of Uncommon Men. Remember to like the broadcast, share the broadcast, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Stay locked with us on social media, and let's continue to change the world, man, one podcast at a time. Thank you, guys. We're out of here.
Let's do it.